him on a gaming whim. But this ain't a game talking to him. You could be a Bradley's baddie too. You could be a Bradley's baddie too. So join Jovan and get your critical cap on. 'Cause there's a Bradley's baddie inside of me and you.
Yo. What up, my G's? How are y'all doing today? We chilling? We doing good? Hey. Oh, God. Why did I decide to go live in the evening today? Jesus. Anyway, Ferocity, Teacher Taylor, and B. Renese Pie. First one's in the Twitch chat today. Cynical One, thank you for resubscribing for 12 months. Golden Game Eagle, thank you for resubscribing for 1 month in tier 2. MK in Space, thank you for resubscribing with Prime. What's up, guys? I'm tired. And I don't know how long I'll be here. But for now, I am here to say what's up to the squad. I have a question about a study a transphobe sent me. What's the study? If it's the new Finnish one, throw it out. It's a piece of crap. Seriously flawed methodology. We're here to debate. We do that thing, bro. 219-327-8005 if you want to debate. 219-327-8005. Call in on any of the topics on the screen. Topic number 1, the Iran war was unjustified. Topic number 2, trans men and women are men and women. Topic number 3, the Christian God is evil. Topic number 4, gender affirming care for minors. Topic number 5, MAGA is uneducated. And topic number 6, systemic racism and white privilege are real. Those are the topics. If you want to call in, we do have a screener standing by. I think Winnie's on deck today, screening. So 219-327-8005. Ellie Blue Bubbles, thank you for resubscribing with Amazon Prime. Yeah, if it's the Finnish one, throw it away. It's garbage. It's absolutely garbage. It is like an unbelievably garbage study. I could like go into all the reasons, but I think it's was it Aaron has a post about why it's like such crap. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Aaron in the Morning has a beautiful critique of the new Finnish study and why it's just like absolute crap. The headphones, they're just on Amazon. I linked it in chat for anybody that wants to go read. But it's primarily a methodology flaw. There, I'll post it in the YouTube chat as well. One of the biggest reasons why is so the study is trying to claim that trans people have worse psychiatric outcomes, essentially post-care. And the way the study did it is they took anyone who had been referred to a gender clinic, and over the course of a couple months, they looked to see if that person had any contact with anybody essentially in the mental health field. So like, if you have just a normal therapy appointment, they consider that. And they counted that as like making it so that you're worse. It literally is garbage. It tells us nothing. And this is the thing, when you have studies written by authors who have clear agendas, like me personally, if you're gonna do a study, right? what are you attempting to tell us with said study? What are you attempting to come like prove? What are you attempting to gain? And all this study is attempting to do is discredit gender-affirming care. It's not attempting to look like, hey, maybe there are better methods of care for these people. Maybe no, it doesn't do any of that. So I think it's just lazy. I think it's just lazy studying. And to put out a study like that when like the internet is full of fact checkers is just so weird. Truthfully. Anyway. 219-327-8005 if you want to debate. We can debate any of the topics on the board. I just don't care. I'm just putting this guy. I like, what the fuck? He comments way too much on this channel. Too much of a fan for me. Goodbye. So yeah, bunk study after bunk study after bunk study. And you know what's crazy? They always claim that the studies we produce are garbage, but then can never tell me why. There was like, this sample size is small, but look at this new study from Finland with a sample size of 2,000. And I'm like, oh, okay, so your sample size isn't small. It's only our sample size that's small. Got it. It's truly lazy. So anyway, guys, sometime this month, I will have on the show a congressional candidate. There's a congressional candidate running in my state, and they're going to come join me for like a virtual town hall where you guys can call in and ask them questions. And I want to make sure if this happens that you guys like ask, like, don't be afraid. Ask the hard questions that you want to ask a politician. Like, don't be afraid. Have you seen the new Avatar movie leak? Was that confirmed real? I mean, I'm not going to watch the leak because that's just fucked up, right? Especially coming from the guys that made Avatar, I'm not gonna... No, I'll just wait for the actual movie to come out. It's the whole movie that got leaked? That's fucking wild. I mean, was it any good? No effing way. Recently, an ex-friend got into a transphobic rant and shared this study as a source. I read it and also concluded it was garbage. Didn't know its mediocrity was already well known. Oh yeah, no, it's straight garbage. like it is flawed on so many levels, bro. They don't even look. This is the problem. All of these studies that they link, now this Finnish study, the Sweden study, they never actually give us a before and after. They just claim using strictly after numbers that, oh, look how bad it did. But every study that actually looks at people's mental health before and after treatment says the same thing. Anyway. Guys, I'm not going to address people in the comments. Either call in or like continue to be a cowardly little baby. I don't know. That's on you, dog. I don't debate comment warriors. They're chicken shit. Oh shit. Good catch. I didn't even notice. Did not notice at all that I didn't turn those on. Y'all see Trump thinks he's Jesus? More importantly, did you see his response? He said, "Oh, I thought it was just me working with the Red Cross." Ain't no fucking shot, bro. Ain't no fucking shot, dude. That is some wild shit. Jovan, when somebody opposes gender affirming care for minors because they're too young for permanent medical decisions, do you ever ask if they're strongly opposed circumcision for minors too? No, I just don't think it's that effective of an argument. But that's just it. Like, Christians will just laugh off his like blatant blasphemy of depicting himself as Jesus because they don't actually believe their own shit. They worship Trump more than they worship Jesus. No, he already said he posted it. He said verbatim, he posted it. Leo, thank you for the Venmo. GOP got to be throwing up and crying with what Trump posted yesterday. Yeah, right. The GOP having a spine? Yeah, right. Then did you see how he tried to use that grandmother, the DoorDash driver, as like a prop for the no tax on tips thing? And he tried to get her. Wait, you guys gotta watch this shit. This shit is fucking funny. Motherfucker tipped her $100. Trump can't be without his McDonald's, you know?
And are the White House good tippers? Do you know?
Wait.
Potentially. Yes, very.
Mr. President, can I ask you something else?
Here's what's crazy. Is he brings her out like this is like some sort of flex. And I'm like, this makes you look terrible. You're telling me in your economy that this older woman has to work DoorDash in order to live? In the Trump economy, she has to DoorDash? Yikes. That's not a flex, bro. That's quite literally not a flex. Like, if it was a younger person DoorDashing, I probably wouldn't say anything, but it's weird that you're flexing with, like, you know? And then, holy shit, this shit was crazy. He asked her like an anti-trans question, and she was like, no, I'm not answering that. Yo.
Play in women's sports. They want to have men playing in women's sport. Do you think that men should play in women's sports?
I really don't have an opinion on that.
You don't, I'll bet
No,
you do.
No,
She's like, I ain't getting canceled for your bitch ass.
On tips.
Yeah. Okay.
Ma'am, can you say your name, please?
They want to have men playing in women's sport. Do you think that
Literally.
men should play
Said,
in
I'm
women's
not going to
sports?
get canceled for your bitch ass, Donald Trump. Get the fuck out of here. That's so fucking funny. So fucking funny. Now he's trying to flex. He's like, look at me. I blocked the Strait of Hormuz. I did it, guys. Not like Iran hasn't had it blocked. He's like, no, if they won't open the strait, I'm gonna open the strait. If they can't open it, I'm not gonna open it. It's like, homie, you don't have a say. You don't get a choice. Like, god damn, dude. God damn. It's so funny. But of course, MAGA doesn't care about any of that, dude. MAGA doesn't care about any of that. All MAGA cares about is that Donald Trump is owning the libs. Doesn't matter if farm bankruptcies are up. Doesn't matter if energy prices are up. Doesn't matter if food prices are up. Doesn't matter if we've spent, $3 billion a day in this war. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. They don't care. They do not care. Doesn't matter if we've killed 1,600 civilians already over there. They don't care about that. They do not care. Doesn't matter that oil peaked at $122 a barrel. They don't care. They do not care. Everything could fall apart. It doesn't matter that Trump made himself look like Jesus. They don't care. It doesn't matter that he's going toe-to-toe with the fucking Pope. They don't care. The only thing MAGA gives a shit about is that Trump is owning the libs, quote unquote. That's it. That's all. That's why whenever anybody is like, does that whole fucking, I left MAGA though. I realized, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Because the second a different Republican runs, you're gonna vote for them. I don't care that you left MAGA. It doesn't tell me anything. Are you still conservative? Then I'm not you mean nothing to me. MAGA is uneducated and evil. Listen, you said it, not me. Oh, wait. I say it all the time. Because they don't care, dude. They don't care. That's what I need people to understand. Everything MAGA told me at the start of the election. I might put pillow on this job assignment. Like, dead ass. Everything MAGA said to me at the start of this election cycle, when it came to Trump, when it came to Harris, everything they told me, I'm voting for Donald Trump because grocery prices are too high. They're higher now than they were when he got elected. I'm voting for Donald Trump because gas prices are too high. Gas has skyrocketed back up, and it's going to continue skyrocketing back up. He told Fox News today it's probably not going to get better before midterms. Told them it might get worse. I'm voting for Trump because I don't want us to get into useless wars. What do you call what we're in with Iran right now? It's a useless war. It's doing nothing. It's not doing any significant regime change because Khamenei's son is just put in charge. It's not making gas cheaper. It's actually making it much more expensive. We're wasting a shit ton of money. All because Israel wanted us to go to war with Iran. fact, who wants to watch Netanyahu try to get us into war with Iran for the last fucking 30 years? Look at this shit. Hold on. Look at this shit. Look at this shit.
They have the wherewithal, the stored
I want it to
up,
restart.
preserved knowledge to make a bomb. They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb. Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Once Saddam has nuclear weapons, the terror network will have nuclear weapons. Next thing you'll see.
It's like
is a nuclear bomb.
every shit is a confession, bro. Truthfully. Iran has just been so close for the last 30 years. They've just been so close, guys. You don't understand. They've just right there, guys. They've been so close. They've been so close, guys. You never know. Iran is it's almost there. We're almost there, guys. They're almost there. They will have those nuclear weapons, I promise you. It's stupid. Genuinely. But, you know, conservatives want war now. Apparently, war is what the conservative right wants. So every time they tell you, we no wars, no war president. No, you wanted war. And here we go. Here we are. War. You asked for it. What is it good for? And it's so funny because you have to remember, and you guys have heard me say this. Iran was not enriching uranium past 20% ever since Obama signed the Iran nuclear deal. Every year they were checked in on by not just us. And every year we came back and we're like, yeah, nope, they're not doing anything. Literally within months of Trump dismantling the deal, they were like, well, we're going to 60% now. Within months. And I'm sorry, if the case is, if a country has nukes, they're a threat. Well, we have nukes, so we're a threat. It's stupid justification. It's terrible justification. Especially when every major body that tracks this shit says that they were not a nuclear threat. Every single one. Here. Should we pull it up? Should we look it up? Should we get it? Should we get it for you guys? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let me find where it is. I just have to pull up the actual. It's in the threat assessment from last year. The only person calling right now is bad, and like like at some point I can't keep farming his mental illness for content, right? Okay, it's on page 5. So, just so we can put all the haters to sleep, this was the annual threat assessment. This was the one Tulsi Gabbard put out in 2025, March of 2025, where they analyzed whether or not there was a threat from Iran. And on page, I think it was this one on page 5. Where is it? Is it on page? Thought it was on page 5. Thought that's where I saw it before. This one's about Mexico. Mexico, Islam. That's ISIS. Okay, let me keep looking. It's in here. I just gotta find like the actual. I see. Continues. Oh, here it is. I hate having to find stuff in these because when I try to, oh, here it is. Here it is. WMDs. I don't know why I didn't just go to the section on WMDs. We continue to assess Iran is not building a nuclear weapon and that Khamenei has not reauthorized the nuclear weapons program he suspended in 2003, though pressure has probably built on him to do so. So since 2003, homies suspended their nuclear weapons program. So any person that tries to tell you Iran was a nuclear threat, it's a lie. It's a pure lie. They are lying to you. You can either let them lie to you or you can, actually read. What? You think someone would go on the internet and just lie? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, not like us. He sent me that photo. Just FYI. Yeah, he sent me that picture. Yeah. Yeah. That's so funny. Look, somebody even misheard the read. I read it, and the YouTube chat is already bugging. It said, though pressure has probably built on him to do so, doesn't mean he did. They're pretty clear here. He has not done it. Unless Trump is just here. One of two things happened here, everybody. One of two things happened. Either, one, Khamenei, with nobody's knowledge, was able to restart this program, ignoring the watchdog eyes of our government, ignoring the eyes of NATO, ignoring the eyes of the UN, ignoring somehow the eyes of the Armed Control Association, ignoring somehow the eyes of the Atomic Energy Agency. Somehow he was able to do all of that. Or Donald Trump picked Tulsi Gabbard to run his intelligence agency, and she is, what's a good word? What's a good word? She's ineffective? No, what's a meaner word? What's a meaner word? Did Trump pick somebody incompetent? So either everybody else in the world is lying except Trump, or Trump chose somebody incompetent. In which case, I would say the person who keeps choosing the incompetent people is probably incompetent. But yeah, no, let's just, we should absolutely just continue to fund Trump's useless war. Yeah. 100%. Makes total sense. It makes total sense, dude. He only hires the best people. It's so stupid. Just dumb. Now, do I make us suffer through bad? Like, truly? Like, truly? Again, I feel like it's exploitative at this point. I feel like it's exploitative at this point. You know? We're gonna take this other call first. And then we'll probably take Bad's call. You know? Give me 1 second, chat. Oh, I didn't hit record again on the. I need to tie that button to that button. So when I press that button, it does that button. I'll do that in a second. I'll just get the Twitch video today. All right, coming up onto the stream, we have Brian. Brian is going to talk about gender affirming care for minors. Brian, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
39, and I'm a man. He, him.
Okay, Brian, 39, he, him. Now, Brian, I believe minors should have access to gender affirming care. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
I do. I don't think children can consent meaningfully to life-altering treatment.
Brian, can children consent to any type of medical care?
What kind of medical care?
Any.
No. I mean, I don't agree with a lobotomy. I think that's barbaric. I think chopping off a child's body.
I don't know what lobotomies have to do with. I asked a very simple question, and you said no. Children can consent to any medical care, correct?
Lobotomies are relevant because they're
didn't ask about lobotomies.
Practice.
Didn't ask about lobotomies. I asked about any medical care whatsoever. Can children consent to any medical care?
I think they have parents.
Great. Parents consent for the children, as you just said. So I don't know what the issue with gender affirming care would be in terms if you're saying it's bad because of the consent issue, because children don't consent to their own medical care, parents consent for them. So it's the parents who say the children are able to get gender affirming care. Children don't just walk into a doctor by themselves and get access to treatment. That doesn't happen. It's illegal to happen. It's not happened. It doesn't happen. There's no evidence of it happening anywhere. And anytime it has happened, if it has happened, a doctor will lose their medical license because it's illegal to practice medicine on children without parents' consent. In every state.
Well, I don't think parents should be allowed to alter their children's bodies.
Well, that's a different conversation. You said you disagreed because of the consent issue. So now you're saying there's actually a different reason you disagree.
Well, it's something that is irreversible, and a child doesn't have the faculty to understand themselves because
They don't need the
haven't been
faculty to
created
understand
yet.
themselves because they don't make medical decisions for themselves. So I don't know why you keep going back to that. My child also wouldn't have the faculty to understand going through chemotherapy, but I would still let them because they have a medical issue that needs treatment. Gender dysphoria is a medical issue that needs treatment if it's severe enough.
I don't
And we
believe
found
so.
that the best treatment for that is gender affirming medical care.
Absolutely not. We're cutting up babies who are influenced by what they're seeing on television.
Babies? What are you talking about cutting up babies? No child receives surgeries. Those are reserved at most for 15-year-olds to get top surgery. And then very few it's not okay for 15-year-olds to get their breasts taken off?
No.
Why?
No, listen to yourself.
Why?
Why? I'm going to repeat the question. Why?
Yeah, I don't need you to repeat the question. You're just punking out of answering the question. Actually answer the question. Actually answer the question, Ryan. If you're afraid to answer the question, you can say that. But actually answer it.
I'll tell you, it's barbaric.
That's not an answer.
Chop off the breasts of a 15-year-old girl.
I think it's barbaric to refuse treatment to a child. See, now we're at a standstill. So why don't you give an actual answer about why it is either harmful, why it is unethical? Why don't you give an actual answer, Brian? If all you have is emotional appeals, that's fine. Just say, all I have is emotional appeals. And I'll understand that you don't have a thought out answer. It's not self-evident. That's a cop-out. Self-evidence is a cop-out.
Chopping off the body parts of perfectly healthy
self-evident is a cop-out because you have not logically thought through your stance. And that's okay.
You don't think so?
I don't think people like you do think through your stances. I think you get emotional. And so you have an emotional appeal to this. And instead of logically thinking out your stance, you're going to just repeat platitudes. I don't care about your platitudes. Why don't you answer the actual question? If it is bad, that means there would be some harm related to it. Point me in the direction of the harm.
The harm is the fact that they can't reproduce.
We're not talking about reproduction. We're talking about top surgery here.
Let me
no, Brian, because you're going to something we're not talking about. Brian, you're going to something we're not talking about, Brian. I don't let people just wander willy-nilly into the woods of conversation. There's a path that we're sticking on. We're talking about top surgery. I asked you to point me to the harm of top surgery, and you go to they can't reproduce. Top surgery doesn't stop someone from reproducing. So do you have an actual answer for why top surgery is harmful, or are you just spouting platitudes?
The things that make them appealing to a mate in the future, but some of those things that help are breasts. And if you're
the reason why 15-year-olds shouldn't get top surgery, everybody, is because Brian won't want to fuck them. Let's just keep it 100. The reason Brian doesn't want 15-year-olds to get top surgery is because Brian doesn't want to fuck them. You heard it here first, everybody. That's not harmful. Somebody not wanting to fuck you is not a reason not to get medical treatment, Brian. It actually just makes you seem fucking creepy. Do you have an actual reason that's harmful that isn't because somebody won't want to fuck them?
I'm looking out for the well-being of a child.
No, you're not. You're looking out for your dick. You're not looking out for the child. You're not. See, platitude after platitude after platitude. How many talking points do you have to list off for me, Brian? Brian, how many talking points do you have to list off to me? I'm stopping them, protecting them from an ideology. Whoop-de-fucking-do, Brian. Can you think for yourself? Is that possible? Is it possible for you to give a unique thought here today, Brian? I don't give a fuck about you thinking that you're protecting them from an ideology. I don't care about any of that. Point me to the harm. The harm is not they won't want to be fucked someday. That's not harmful. Do you have actual evidence? What I'd love is academic research about the harm. That's what I would love.
Do you want academic research or do you want a unique thought? Because the unique thought that you asked for initially would be the fact that we treat anorexia patients.
That's not unique at all.
Telling them that's I'll
it's not unique at all. My listeners have heard the same talking point from
mental
fucking
illness
transphobes for the last fucking 3 years. They've heard the same
because it's
nonsense
related to
talking point.
reproduction.
And it's not. You have what we've learned here, Brian, is you have no actual answer for this question. You don't know what the harm is. You've never actually, Brian, I don't care about the platitudes. So every time you try to just come in here, yes, it is. Every time you try to come in here with the nonsense, I'm just going to ignore it. Because you haven't given a single fact this entire time. The only thing you've given is fucking shallow answers, which that's what platitudes are. You haven't used a single piece of logic. You haven't used a single piece of logic. You know how I know you haven't used a single piece of logic, Brian? Let me tell you how I know you haven't used. Let me tell you, Brian. Let me tell you how you haven't used a single piece. We're muting you. Let me tell you how you haven't used a single piece of logic, Brian. I'm going to tell you right now. You're on mute, so I can tell you why you haven't used logic. Your entire talking point coming in here was, I want this banned because children can't consent. And we broke down how that was an illogical statement because children do not consent to any medical care. So you've not used logic this entire time, Brian. If you want to tell me you have a logical stance, if you want to invoke fucking Plato, then Brian, what I want from you next, and we won't move on in this conversation until it's provided, I would like a syllogism. If you want to invoke logic, let's do it. Provide me a syllogism for your argument. A simple P1, P2, I mean, you can add as many P's as you want if you need to, and a C. So that's all I want to hear from you, Brian. I want to hear your syllogism on why it's harmful. Let's see if you can provide a logically sound syllogism. I don't think you can, but let's see you try.
It's wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being. Abortion intentionally kills an innocent
I don't know
human
why
being,
you think we're
therefore
talking about abortion. I'm not pivoting to abortion. Stick on topic.
Because we're talking about pro-life.
Nobody's talking about abortion. Nobody's talking about pro-life. Stick on topic.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Nobody's talking about abortion. Nobody's talking about pro-life. Stick on topic.
So you want to know the same thing about transgender?
No, I want you to provide a syllogism for your argument. If you want to invoke Plato, if you want to invoke logic, provide a sound syllogism.
So children can't give a full informed consent to irreversible or life-altering medical interventions or surgeries. And number two is that gender transition interventions for minors are irreversible and life-altering. Number three is, therefore, children should not undergo gender transition interventions. Number one, because it's irreversible. Number two, because it's life-altering. And three,
your syllogism is not sound, unfortunately.
Gender transition interventions.
Unfortunately, your syllogism is not sound, and I will break it down with my own. P1, parents consent to medical care for their children, whether that medical care be irreversible or not. P2, gender-affirming healthcare is medical care that has benefits for both mental health and total outcomes overall. Conclusion, parents can consent for their children to receive gender-affirming medical care. Thank you for having a syllogism that was broken down very easily by my syllogism. Thanks.
Well, yours can be broken down very easily.
Try it. Break it down. Do it.
So they do authorize treatment, but they shouldn't because it's not their body.
Whoa. That doesn't break down my syllogism. That doesn't break down my syllogism. My syllogism is baked in with the idea, and you agreed with this, that parents are allowed to consent for their children to receive medical care. If you're going, well, they shouldn't be because it's not their body, that holds for every single medical decision ever, and you and I both know that's illogical. Parents are the only people, unless the child has another type of guardian or is a ward of the state, parents are the only people that can medically consent for decisions to their children, unless they're deemed incompetent and then a doctor can. And knowing that it is baked into the legal system of our country that parents are allowed to make that decision, it being the child's body plays into none of this. Just like if a parent's child gets pregnant, the parent can decide to get that child needs an abortion, or they can decide that the child cannot have an abortion because it being the child's body doesn't actually matter because children cannot consent to medical treatments. Only parents can. So, Brian, you said you could break down
They're
my
not
syllogism.
treatment.
Hasn't happened.
We don't let parents abuse their children.
Brian, you are the only person here advocating for abuse by telling parents to not do a medical treatment that has been both deemed safe by almost every major medical body that has studied it, that is the current based upon the American Psychiatric Association, based upon the WPATH, based on the WHO, based on the CDC, is the only treatment that actually relevantly lowers numbers when it comes to things like trans suicide, when it comes to comorbidities from from gender dysphoria, when it comes to mental health outcomes. It's the only thing that lowers the numbers of that. It's the only thing that provides a positive benefit. So the only person advocating for abuse is you, Brian. Unless you have some sort of research that says otherwise, which I know you don't, because I don't believe you've ever opened up a piece of academic literature in your life. Now, I will gladly read some if you can tell me that you have some sort of academic evidence that it actually causes more harm when a child goes through this treatment path than had a child not gone through this treatment path. I would love to hear that. But we both know you don't have that.
Well, there's the Cass review.
The Cass review did not say children should not receive gender-affirming healthcare. In fact, I can pull you up an interview with Dr. Hillary Cass themselves and their team from the Kite Trust when they interviewed Dr. Hillary Cass in April of, I want to say it was 2024 or 2023. They interviewed Dr. Hillary Cass themselves and asked, are you against a ban on medical treatments such as puberty blockers? Dr. Cass, do you believe puberty blockers are unsafe drugs? And the response from Cass and her team was, the Cass review report does not conclude that puberty-suppressing hormones are an unsafe treatment. The report supports a research study being implemented to allow prepubertal children to have a pathway to accessing this treatment in a timely way. So, I know you didn't read the Cass review. I know you didn't read the Cass review, right? I know you are just using it because you've heard it on right-leaning talking shows, or you've heard it on Fox News. You've heard it on probably on Truth Social. You've probably heard it on fucking Rumble, but you've never read it. You don't know what it says. You have no clue. You don't even know who Hillary Cass is. You don't know that the Cass review has been under widespread scrutiny because it didn't actually follow any really hard methodological, or it had multiple flawed methodological errors in the review. They excluded studies that quite literally proved them wrong. They just tossed them because there was a bias in the Cass review. Hence, a bias that Dr. Cass didn't even want. Hence why her team said the report does not advocate for removing the ability for children to have gender-affirming medical care. So, Brian, why don't you tell me another thing that you didn't read that you're trying to pass off here? I'd love to hear it.
I'm curious who's paying you guys to be just vile.
Brian, see, it's so funny that you had to resort to the ad hom instead of presenting evidence. I don't care about the ad hom. I could be getting paid. Yes, it is. When you refuse to engage in the argument, and instead you attack, when you refuse to engage in the argument, and instead you attack, when you refuse, you did. Yes, when you say that I'm being paid for this, that is a personal attack instead of addressing the argument, which I laid out, which clearly dismantles your argument. Now, Brian, I'm going to ask you again. Brian, I'm going to ask you again. You're not going to be able to pivot. I'm not going to engage in the nonsense anymore. I'm going to ask you again. Do you have a single piece of medical evidence, a single piece of academic evidence that you have read and actually read through that supports your thesis statement? Do you have any of this, Brian?
Did you read the Cass review?
Yes, in its entirety.
Okay.
Try another one.
The conclusion of the Cass review.
I just did. The conclusion of the Cass review was that when it comes to pubertal suppressants, because that was really the only thing they talked about when it comes to trans medical affirming healthcare, they actually didn't really touch HRT. When it comes to pubertal suppressants, they want to move to a research-based model where these children can still have access to this treatment, but they can just record the data of what happens when they get it. The Cass review said there wasn't clear enough bout of evidence on either side. But again, that's because their methodology was flawed and they excluded studies.
And
They
that's not enough
excluded
to
studies.
chop up children.
I don't know why you're interrupting, Brian. I only allow people to interrupt me when they're interrupting me with actual substance. You are not interrupting me with substance, so you are not allowed to interrupt here. You don't have that power. There is no substance, Brian. This is not the movie The Substance. Brian, you're going to be muted. I don't allow people who have no substance to think they can come and waltz into my show and spout nonsense. You have nothing here. You didn't read the cast review. You don't have a single piece of evidence that supports your fucking claim. Your claim has been illogical from the second you spouted it out of your mouth. And all you've tried to do now is present ad homs because you've realized that you've lost the argument. Bad faith people like you are an embarrassment to what I like to call the debate culture. So I'm going to ask again for the final time, Brian. And all I want to hear is the answer to this question. If you say anything else, I will drop the call and move on to one of the other people in the queue, because there are other people waiting. So I'm going to say it again. If you say anything else other than answering what I'm going to ask you, I will move on to somebody else. Do you, Brian, have a single piece of either medical or academic research that supports your claim that gender-affirming medical care is harmful? That is the only question I want answered. If you say anything else, you will be booted. So go ahead, Brian. Answer that question now.
I've got about 6 points.
Bye. See ya. That's not a piece of academic or medical research. That's all I asked you. Goodbye. That wasn't a single piece of medical or academic research. Goodbye. Thanks for playing. Please read next time. Reading would prevent, it would have prevented this. Opening up a book would have prevented this. Broadening your horizons would have prevented this. Talking to a single trans person would have prevented this. Not allowing right-leaning media to influence everything about your life would have prevented this. I don't play games. And I'm not going to allow someone to play games. Carl is calling back to get demolished again on the Iran war. Because Carl didn't get enough of a smacking last time. Isn't that so funny? That Carl is calling back because he didn't get his shit rocked enough last time. Sometimes you play with your food. No, it's just annoying that, listen, and I'm going to be so staunchly firm on this. If you interrupt me with substance, go right ahead. I actually think totally fine. I'm more than willing to get interrupted with substance. Let's see if Carl has anything new to say today about the Iran war. Carl, age 26, he, him, is calling back, I guess to prove that he has a kink, maybe?
I have a kink?
You must, calling in again about the same topic.
The kink part? I guess I'm confused.
It must be a shame kink, I assume.
Oh, I see. I just had a simple question.
Great.
Let's say if I was a liberal and I was deeply concerned about the chemicals that are plaguing the civilians of Iran, which you mentioned.
Wonderful.
And I didn't know the types of chemicals or how many chemicals that was. Would that mean I did not sufficiently care about the Iranian people?
Yeah, you wouldn't care
could apply
because
that to
the
your
reason why you didn't care
Okay.
before is because you didn't actually know about the chemicals. You had no clue that this was happening. You didn't know that the U.S. was targeting civilian infrastructure. That's why you didn't care. If you're going to
I
be
was
hung up
actually
on
aware
one
of
part, no, you weren't. If you're no, you weren't. People can go back and listen to the call. No, you weren't. If you're going to be hung up on one part of the call, which was me proving that you didn't even know these chemicals were released into the air, you had no clue. You had no fucking
Okay.
idea.
I understand.
Like lazy. Do you have anything of substance to add to
Okay.
the conversation different from the last time we talked, Carl?
Right. Why didn't you just add me if I was tell me if I like ask me if I was aware of it, and then ask me like
Carl,
how
holy
many?
shit.
I'm still
Carl, do you
talking,
have
but
I don't care.
go
It's
ahead.
not there's nothing substantive here. Do you have anything of substance to add to the conversation we had previously? Or is this just going to be you
Okay.
crying about the way that conversation went? One of those I'll allow you to talk, the other of those I'm going to move on. One of those I'm going to one of those I'm going to allow you to do, the other I'm just going to move on.
Okay. I could provide something substantive.
Great.
How many chemicals were plaguing the Iranian people?
Benzene is in there. There's a long list of heavy metals, like too long for any one person to know.
Oh yeah.
PFAA
So
is, soot is in there, sulfur compounds,
then they don't care.
nitrogen oxides. Those are all that's been released in the recent bombing of oil infrastructures. Do you have anything of substance to add, Carl? Or are you just here to cry about the last conversation? Where's the substance?
I'm not crying. I just wanted you to admit that was,
starting from this second, if you say anything about the previous conversation, I'm going to hang up and move on. So what do you have of substance to add to the fact that you think the Iran war is justified?
The world's leading sponsor of terrorism should not be allowed to create nukes.
The United States is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism.
Sorry, can I finish what I have to
No.
say instead of you interrupting me?
No, the United States is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism.
Okay, what's the second leadest?
Israel.
Second leading. Israel? Third.
Yeah.
Like
third?
Like where does groups like Hezbollah or Hamas coming from? Like how are they?
Hamas came from Israel.
Like,
Hamas directly became a thing because of Netanyahu. Netanyahu propped up Hamas because he wanted to win an election.
That's my question. Who pays Hamas?
Who pays Hamas?
Does Israel pay Hamas?
A list of groups. Israel does pay money to Hamas. Yes.
Okay. You are aware that Iran pays for terror proxies in order to torment the rest, right? The West.
Whoopee! That doesn't make the war justified. And okay, so again, this is where we walk into. Let's see if you hold to your own logic. Let's see if you hold to your own logic. Let's see if you hold to your own logic. The U.S. sponsors multiple terror groups throughout the world and has done multiple bouts of terrorism throughout the globe. Does that mean it's justified if another country decides they want to invade the U.S. and bomb the U.S. and bomb civilian infrastructure?
Let's say yes. Why can't both those things be true?
Because if it's true that the U.S. is justified to bomb the U.S., it can't be true now that the U.S. is now justified to bomb somebody else.
The U.S. is justified in bombing the U.S.? Is that the argument I made? I don't believe so.
God damn, dude.
I'm just like,
keep up. Please try to keep
Iran
up.
make nukes?
Please try to keep up.
That's kind of the question.
Keep up.
Should they allow them to make nukes?
Iran wasn't making nukes.
They said in their 15-point plan that they wanted to continue nuclear enrichment.
Yeah, nuclear enrichment isn't making nukes, and that was your first problem the last call.
Well, why would
nuclear enrichment isn't making nukes? Name me one group that assesses nuclear threats that said Iran was making nukes. Name me one.
Did I say nuclear threats in this argument?
What do you think a nuke would be?
Right, but there's a difference.
Sure, name me one group that said they were making nukes. Name me one group that said they were making nukes. You don't respond though, Carl. It's the same issue with last time. You don't. Every time I ask a question, you don't, because every time I ask a question, you fucking tap dance around it, Carl. Because every time you're asked a question, you tap dance, Carl. I don't need the tap dance. Okay, then goodbye. See you. Then you don't need to. I don't do the tap dancing. I literally asked you a direct question and you fucking flip-flopped instead of answering. I said, name me one organization. And instead of, all you wanted to do was, oh, well, watch, I'm going to just dodge that. Again, with the dodge, like last time. Get the fuck out of here. I don't need somebody who's going to dodge every single question they're asked. It's it's useless. And you do it because you think, I don't know, that you're smart, I guess. It's lazy as shit, bro. Truly. And I'm going to say this right now. There is no justification in the world, none, zip, zilch, zada, for hitting civilian infrastructure. There's none. It's not justified if a country has nukes. It's not justified if a country's making nukes. Hitting civilian infrastructure is not justified. Literally, nobody pointed Iran to be a nuclear threat. Plain and simple. These conversations are lazy. Okay. Let's bring up another caller. Coming up next is Connor. Connor is calling to talk about topic number 6, systemic racism and white privilege being real. Connor, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
I'm 19 years old. He, him.
All right. Connor, I believe systemic racism and white privilege are both real. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Yes, I do disagree because right now there is no law that inhibits Black people or other minority groups to not be able to do things that white people can do. We all have the same rights.
Okay, Connor, can you give me a quick definition on what you believe systemic racism to be? Because based on your answer, I don't think you actually know what it is.
Systemic racism.
Yep.
Is like racism within the system of the United States, right?
Can you give a less circular answer?
Okay. It's hard on the spot, but like discrimination towards a certain people that's integrated within like government laws, stuff like that.
Okay, I like the beginning of
Right?
that. I actually think the beginning of that was pretty good. You lose it a little bit when you go to the loss thing. A few things to just note. One, systemic racism doesn't need to be expressly placed in law. Systemic racism is going to use the systems to create a disparity between racial groups, whether that law is expressly written or not.
Okay.
Which we do see. Basically, expressly racist laws of the past warp the system in such a way that the system continues to pump out the disparities that those created, even when those are not on the books. Yes, it's definitely discrimination against people integrated within systems like government, education, healthcare, and things like that. But it doesn't need to be expressly written in law. Although there are still examples of expressly written laws on the books, they're just largely ignored. So a few of those are going to be like there are still racial covenants in deeds written in the United States. So if you go look at deeds for houses, especially houses in the Deep South, those houses, the deeds of those houses still say those houses can't be sold to Black people. There's still a litany of these throughout. There's going to be things such as single family zoning laws, which single family zoning is when you zone an area to only allow a single family home to be built on that area. These laws were expressly created to keep not just Black people, but also Asian people from building and having homes in upper scale white neighborhoods because of the income disparity. Black people couldn't afford to purchase single family homes, but they could afford rental properties. So even a 2-family rental property would be more affordable to them. So these were created specifically for that. Those are expressly written ones. The rest are going to be disparities that we see in the system, such as the fact that black Black people are more likely to receive harsher and longer prison sentences. Black people are more likely to be pulled over and have disproportionate outcomes inside of judicial courts. Black people are more likely to face medical malpractice and experience hardships in the medical field because of like the overwhelming myth of Black pain tolerance that was still in textbooks up until I want to say like 2016. This was still taught in some medical
So I
textbooks.
have a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on your they're more likely to be pulled over. Is that being pulled over for not probable cause? Is that like being pulled over because they committed a crime? Because I know statistics do say that, and I'm not meaning this in a racist way. It's just statistics. Black people do have higher percentages of crime rates than like other demographics, right?
So, not really. So when it comes to traffic stops, right? There was a study done by Cornell called the Veil of Darkness study, where they analyzed like 95 million traffic stops in the United States. What they did is they looked at an area, like, you know, how daylight savings changes, and like some days in my town it gets dark at 4 o'clock. Some days it gets dark at fucking 9 p.m. Right? That's just like the nature of the year. So they look at an area and they pick an area and they say, okay, let's analyze this area when it's light out at 5 o'clock. And then let's analyze the same area when it's dark out at 5 o'clock. Now, when they look at all of these traffic stops, they then filter out anybody that was stopped because of like a very obvious infraction. So like plate not visible, brake lights out, something like speeding. They're not looking at any of those. They're going to look at stops where no ticket was issued, stops where no articulated wrongdoing was issued, things like that. And what they found is that in the months where it is daytime at 5 o'clock, Black people were overwhelmingly pulled over more than white people, upwards of like 16 times a 16 times higher rate. Then when they came back and saw the same thing at the evening, 5 o'clock, they found that all of a sudden those pullover rates evened out because the cops could no longer see the color of the person driving the car because it was nighttime.
Wow, that's pretty raw.
Yep.
But I do see that. That's pretty bad, and that could be argued as systemic racism, even though I believe that that's more racism of individuals that are.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, Connor. Let me ask you a question. What would you call a system that consistently hires racist actors?
Sorry, can you say that again? Someone was calling me and I went off.
Sure. What would you call a system that consistently puts racist people in power?
I mean, really, anything. Like, you could vote a racist person to power if the people was racist.
But this isn't voting.
But
This is a system of policing in our country that does not weed out racial bias. It does not teach out racial bias.
Okay.
And it, in fact, consistently
You're
employs people with racial biases.
Well, I think are those people getting fired that if they're suspected of racial profiling people, are they getting fired over that?
Sometimes it can happen that a cop is fired for racial profiling. That's going to be the minority of cases. Typically, a cop will just be put on desk duty and then let back out into the field after some time. They might go to an ineffective training to try to train out the racial bias, or they'll just move and go work at a different department where no one knows who they are and they can just do what they want there.
Okay. So you do that. I do see that as a big disadvantage to Black people in society. You're right, because that's pretty messed up. But I feel like there are disadvantages to different.
You feel like there are disadvantages to different groups.
Yeah. So, for example,
sure, but really quickly, when we're talking about what we're like, okay, if you have an example of white people experiencing some type of systemic racism, I'd love to hear it.
Okay. So this would apply to white people and Asian people too, I would say. But that would be like, for example, college applications. A white person or an Asian person that would apply to a college that's hard to get into, right? They would have a lot less likely of a chance to get in than, for example, someone who's like
So just
black
so you know, white people
yeah.
overwhelmingly receive the bulk of college admissions in this country, and they overwhelmingly are typically the biggest recipients of both need-based and merit-based financial assistance.
Are you sure? Because
Yes.
at my college right now, there's scholarships that are only for Hispanic people, only for Black people, that white people can't even apply to.
So let me ask you a question, Connor. Why do you think a college may have a scholarship on the books that is specifically seeking out people from different backgrounds? Why do you think that might be?
To try to diversify the landscape or whatever.
Do you think it's about trying to
Is that right?
diversify, or do you think it's that these are people who are typically from communities that are underserved by this institution? Because I promise, if we go look at the racial breakdown of your college's enrollment,
they're probably underserved, but now they're probably not.
do you think that?
From what I've seen,
Because I can prove to you that they are. So let's take a quick example. Let's say your college has a scholarship that's meant primarily for Black applicants. So they say, "Hey guys, and we'll pick a random college in the United States. It could be your school, it could be a different school. Pick a random one."
In the United States, let's say like Cornell.
Great. So if we look at just a basic breakdown of Cornell students by race, if we're just looking at a racial breakdown of Cornell students, Cornell for fall of 2024, which is the last data they have, 47.7% of their enrollment was white, 7% was Black, 38% was Asian, 10% was Hispanic, and 1% was American Indian. 0.4% was Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander. So Cornell, already almost half of their enrollment base is white, whereas the other half is split up between all the other racial groups, right? So Cornell is predominantly bringing in...
This is for people that applied, right? Or is this people that are enrolled in Cornell?
This is enrolled. This is incoming first-year undergrads. So it's the people they let in.
What about applied? Because if there were more white people that applied to Cornell, it would make sense that more white people got in.
Oh, I'm sure there were more white people that applied because there are more white people in the country. But what I'm trying to say is, when we're looking at this breakdown, right, there are 13 to 14% of the country is Black, but only 7% is getting admitted into Cornell. And there are enough Black people that are applying that they could meet those standards. But now that we know the numbers, let's look at the population groups. Typically, Black people, when it comes to wealth or in this country, are an underserved population. The median Black familial wealth in this country is $12,000. Take a guess what the median white familial wealth is.
Like 60K? I don't know.
Higher.
70, 80?
Higher.
100? I don't know.
Higher.
Just give me the number.
$285,000.
Wow.
So, knowing this, okay.
So why do you think that is?
Well, systemic racism, and we can get there. But so now we know, okay, wealth, one group tends to have a larger share of the wealth than another. Wealth is directly tied to school outcomes, right? The money you have and the money you bring in will dictate where you live, which will dictate the type of school you go to, which will dictate the type of education you receive. So white people, right? White people, because they tend to have more wealth, which means they will live in larger homes and in more affluent areas, will be able to send their schools to send their children to better schools than black families. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just an ought thing, or an is thing. It just is what happens. Black children tend to go to schools which are going to be underserved. They're going to be city schools typically. They're going to have a larger student to teacher ratio than the more affluent schools. So they're going to have a harder time getting their education. Not because of anything they did, because
let me ask
of
you about something.
wealth.
So there are rich black people, even though they're a lot poorer on average. There are rich black people, and let's say there's a black kid that
and there are poor
grew
white
up
people
in a rich black home, right? So would they would be treated with the same? They would be put under the underserved communities, even though they're rich.
No,
because
no.
they're
Okay,
black.
so Connor, when we're looking at these things,
Yeah.
we don't look at them on an individual case by case basis because that's not going to give you the broad picture, right? What's going to happen is you're going to end up looking at like survivorship bias, which is you're going to see somebody who is able to make it out of a poorer situation at some point in their life, and you're going to think that that is the case for everybody, but it's not, right? On average, your average black child will go to a school worse than your average white child. That is just the sheer reality of it. So knowing this, knowing that when it comes to college, colleges are now going to offer up scholarships to this group because this is an underserved group. Not because they're trying to cater to one race over the other, but because they're saying, hey, we know that black children have a harder time in education. We know that their families don't have as much money. We know that they're struggling more on average. So why don't we give them a scholarship for that? That's why you're going to find scholarships for just poverty-based scholarships that all applicants can apply to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it was about money, I think what they should do is instead of making it race based, they should make it like your household income based or something like that, because race shouldn't matter. It's all.
But the problem is
about merit and yeah, how much money you make. That's true. Also, but I just think that people should look into people's character, not their skin color.
The problem is that the reason black families typically have less wealth and have worse outcomes is because of systemically racist policies. It's because of the systems being built to make it so that they have these outcomes. That's why we focus on the racial side. If that wasn't the case, we wouldn't need to focus on the racial side. If it was all just class disparities, then beautiful. Mwah. Would love if that was the only thing we had to worry about. But unfortunately, it's not just class disparities. There are racial disparities at play as well.
Okay, so I have a question. If there's a white kid, right? They've lived in like 4 generations of extreme poverty. Do you think that a black person, or let's say a Hispanic person that's lived in a bunch of wealth, should get a scholarship for $5,000 a year because it's a Hispanic scholarship over the white person who's poor?
Well, that probably won't happen because even these scholarships that are racially based have an income limit because they're scholarships. So they have an income that you can't, like an income limit that like you have to make under a certain amount to qualify.
So if they both make under that limit, they both have the same like economic status, right? Do you think that the Hispanic person should get it over the white person because they're Hispanic?
Well, I think if there's a scholarship specifically for that community, then yes, that community should benefit. If it's a scholarship meant for everybody, then I think whoever gets it would be the best applicant.
See, I feel like communities, it's like, I wish we could see us all together as trying to, not just as like splitting us up into groups. Because
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Connor, truly. But there's no way to fully come together until we fix the disparities that exist. We just can't do it, right? We'll never be able to fully come together until we've hit a point where Black people on average don't have worse outcomes in healthcare, and Black people on average don't have worse outcomes in the justice system, and Black people on average don't have worse outcomes in the education system. There's no way to become a cohesive unit when the goal from conservative government, right, has been to make this divide. Do you know who Lee Atwater is?
No.
So Lee Atwater was a really famous Southern campaign strategist. He worked for Reagan. He was kind of instrumental in getting the conservative platform for what it was, or like what it was going to be. And he did a famous interview. I want to say it was in the 50s, 60s, 80s. I'm an idiot. It was in 1981. He did a famous interview in 1981 where he was talking about the Southern strategy. And he was like, well, what is what is our plan as Southern politicians and what we want to do, right? So in this interview, Lee Atwater says verbatim that the plan of the Southern strategy, and again, this would be the plan of fucking Reagan upwards to Mitt Romney, right? This was the plan of conservative in our government for the longest time. The plan was to create policies that were discrete, right? But that the outcome of those policies were to hurt Black people more than white people. Now, I would play you the interview, but Lee Atwater says the N-word like 20 times in it. So I'd get banned.
Oh.
But he talks about how, like, when, like, in the 50s, you could create policies that just said that you could just be like, N-words are bad and we shouldn't give them stuff. But as we came forward as a society, saying that out loud would hurt you politically. So he said, you come up with things like states' rights. You talk about busing. You talk about cutting taxes and cutting social welfare programs, and all of these things. The outcomes is that Blacks get hurt worse than whites. He said this verbatim, right? This interview was literally, in the interview, by the way, it was like hidden until James Carter like forced them to release the interview. The interview was like killed because Republicans didn't want this interview getting out because they knew, oh shit, he said the quiet part out loud. We can't have that. So this isn't something that happened by happenstance. It's like systemic racism didn't just show up because it's hard to move past slavery, right? It was a concerted effort by a large group of conservative men who wanted to maintain their political power and their economic power and their social status. And they realized that the best way they could do that was by pitting white people against Black people. And it worked.
And I know this is like one of conservatives' talking points, how they say that like Black people are like the main people like against Black people themselves because they're like committing a lot of murders within their own community.
The rate of murder within races is like pretty much equal. Like white on white crime, the rate of white on white crime is the same rate as Black on Black crime. So anytime if you ever hear somebody bring up Black on Black crime, it's a dog whistle. They want to shift the conversation to make it appear like Black people are more violent. It's not the case.
Well, thanks for clarifying that. Also, I wanted to ask you, do you believe that white people should pay reparations to Black people?
I believe reparations should come from the government, but not in a way of direct payment. I do believe Black people are owed something. We were promised 40 acres and a mule, and we were not given it. And instead, reparations was given to like slave owners for the loss of income because they lost their slaves. I believe that it should come in the form of like community benefit. Like it should go back into investing in these systems that have been historically disenfranchised. I'm not really in favor of direct payments for reparations. I am in favor of universal basic income. So I do think like we should all have something like an extra $1,000 a month anyway. Probably not me. I think I would. I think I make enough that I don't think I should qualify for that. But I do think like people under a certain amount should get universal basic income. But I don't believe we need direct cash payments in form of reparations. No.
Okay. Yeah, I just like, it kind of does sound good in theory, but I feel like it's not fair to do that because, our ancestors. Okay, I'll say I'm white. Like my ancestors did
I would never
horrible
guessed.
things to other people in this country, but like I was in control of their actions. So
The thing
then
is,
like if
though,
I was
Brian,
to have to
this
pay
or Connor.
pay
Why do
for
I call you
their what
Brian?
they did.
The thing is, Connor. The
What?
thing is, Connor. When it comes
Yeah.
to dismantling systems of oppression, anyone benefiting from that system is directly responsible for helping dismantle that system. Like you have a direct obligation. So as a white person, and this isn't me saying your life has been easy or your life is, or like you haven't had hardships, but you do benefit from white privilege where being your race has not been at the center of those hardships on a systemic level. Being that you've had that privilege, you are obligated to try to dismantle white supremacy in whatever way that you can. Just like I, as a man who benefit from a patriarchal system, should be obligated to tackle patriarchy, misogyny, whatever you want to say. Just like rich people who've benefited from a system of class disparities have a direct obligation to correct that system in whatever way that they can. That's just our obligations as people. We just, as people, have an obligation to dismantle systems of oppression that we benefit from.
Yeah, well, I feel like nowadays it's not really. It's like, okay, I don't know. I'm kind of confused now because like you made some great points against it, but I still kind of like hold the things I thought. It's like.
Well, Connor, I'll be honest. I don't know why. I mean, I've been able to show you through actual, like, not just historical facts, but current modern day facts and statistics that there is racism that exists. There is white privilege that exists. It feels like you're just holding on to it because, like, this is a belief you had and you don't want to let go. But I promise it will make you a better person if you let go of that belief and take actual information and use that to be like, oh, hey, I can change my belief and it actually makes me a better person now that I can recognize these issues that are baked into our country.
Yeah, it's like, what's it called? Something bias.
Cognitive dissonances.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah. So what would you say I would do then?
When I say you do, I probably wouldn't give you a direct prescription of like you need to do anything, but like just being aware of the things that are happening is a good enough first step. You're a 19-year-old. I don't think you have. So I don't think that your obligation at the moment goes past just being aware and educating yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do more research on it because from what you showed me, like my points weren't really on point. There's a lot of stuff I didn't know about, or like what the media's not really been giving a lot of information about, So, but yeah, I do agree with you. Like, you made some good points. I see why systemic racism can actually happen today. It's not just like since the Civil Rights Act passed, everything's fair.
All right. Well, Connor, good talk. Thanks for calling into the show, and you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, man.
No problem. Notice how I didn't have to treat Connor like a piece of shit. Like I've had to treat the other callers because Connor wasn't a piece of shit. All right. My voice is tired already. Golly. Coughing all day will do that to you. Coughing all day will do that to you. Let's take the next call. I'm just gonna let Bad sit in the calling queue until the end of the show. Bad will be my final call if he's still there. Coming up next is George from wait, I didn't hit record. Coming up next is George. George is calling in about gender affirming care for minors. George, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
19, he.
All right, George, 19, he, him. George, calling about gender affirming care. George, I believe that minors should be able to access gender affirming care. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
I disagree, but at the same time, I'm also on here because I'm willing to hear both sides of the conversation.
Okay, why do you disagree?
Well, I disagree because, especially when it comes to minors are more susceptible to what they get told around them and what they get taught, and they're also more susceptible to any kind of agendas pushed by them parents or other people.
All right, George, what do you believe gender affirming care is? Like the process, the like what do you think gender affirming care is?
What I think a gender affirming care is if someone, well, a gender affirming care is any kind of care, psychological, physical, or anything like that goes against their natural gender. So best example I can give
When
of
you
this
say
is, let's
when you
say
say
a
natural
14-year-old.
gender, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when you say natural gender, that phrase is interesting to me. Because
Birth
gender,
gender.
sure, even that phrase is kind of interesting to me because gender is a like social construct. So people aren't really born with a gender. We may be born with a what's the word I'm looking for? Not disproportionate. We may be born with a propensity to align with specific genders, but like gender is like more of a taught trait. Like if you had somebody that was born outside of a society that engages in gender, they wouldn't do that because so disposition. Thank you, chat. So that's why I'm a little. It's interesting to me the way the way you describe gender here.
Okay, what I mean by gender in particular detail would be what modern, I wouldn't say modern, but just like a male dong, female vagina. I don't know how to simpler break that down. Sorry if this is coming off as being like an asshole or sexist or anything.
No. So what you're talking about? So you're talking about sex.
Yes.
So you would be talking about the characteristics related to sexual reproduction.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead again with the understanding about sex. Go ahead.
So what I was saying about that is, I believe that gender affirmation would be anything psychological, any kind of help, psychological, physical, or anything like that would go against their natural sex.
And what's the issue with that?
The issue I would have with that is, well, pre-screening, I was thinking about something as well, which is I wouldn't have a problem with it being taught on an individual basis, like therapy or something like that. If needed, I'd have a problem with it being taught overall in general education.
Well, luckily it's not currently. Now, I would disagree with you and actually think that I do think that gender studies, like studying what gender is, how humans engage in gender, probably is something that should be taught on a scholastic level. But right now that's not what's happening. So gender affirming care is all individual based. So what would be the issue with it then?
Individual case, I feel like if it's an individual case, there should be some kind of screening before, just to make sure that it's not an agenda pushed by the parents. The reason I'm saying that is I have a personal story with it. When I was young, my parent tried to push me to changing my gender, even though I didn't really want to.
What do you mean by your parents pushed you to change your gender?
Okay, so what I mean by that is whenever I was a minor, 14, 13, my parent kept trying to push me to thinking I was a female, even though I strongly believe myself I was a male, and they tried to push me into therapy to try to get me to change my opinion.
Okay. Let me have this right. You had a parent who tried to convince you that you were the opposite sex.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you would understand, and I believe rightfully so, if I had a hard time believing that.
I mean, yeah, you can have, like I said, I came here to hear both sides of the opinion. So if you don't believe my story, that's completely fine. I'm just here to give my own opinion on it, obviously, and my own my own opinion on stuff.
Okay. So what you're saying is you think there should be some type of criteria that children should have to go through in order to receive gender affirming care.
I believe that there should be protection for both sides. Well, not
What do
both
you
sides,
mean?
but I feel like there should be protection in general.
So if there was, like, let's say, I don't think this exists, but let's say there was a manual for diagnosing this thing, right? And that manual gave us criteria for how you were supposed to get that diagnosis so you could get the care. Like, let's say you could be diagnosed medically, and there's a manual, and you open up that manual and you go to the page on like trans healthcare, and it says, hey, in order to get gender affirming care as a minor, you have to have X, Y, and Z. Would like that, something like that would be a safeguard in place that you would like.
More of like a pre-screening before any care was given, like pulling the child to the side.
Well, that's what that would be a
without the
pre-screening,
parent.
right? If there's a criteria
Yeah,
you must meet,
and
you'd
this
have to
time,
be
like
screened in order to meet that criteria. So let's say
Yeah.
we could pick a number. Let's say there was let's say in this diagnostic manual, right? Let's say it was saying like for a child, I don't know, let's say they had to have 6 months at least, right? At least 6 months of clinically significant, right? Like some sort of clinically significant distress or impairment in order to receive this diagnosis. They had to have like for 6 months they had to have like a really strong desire to be a different gender. So like you wouldn't have applied here because you didn't have that, right? So your pre-screening would have said, oh, he doesn't have that, we're not doing that. They would have needed like a strong preference for like cross-gender roles when they're like playing. So it would have been like, hey, when they play, they tend to prefer taking on roles of the opposite gender. Maybe they have a strong preference for stereotypical toys or activities that's done by the other gender. Maybe they might even have a strong preference for playing with their playmates who are in that other gender. Maybe they dislike their own sexual anatomy, so they have a strong dislike of that. And maybe they have a strong desire for like to have the physical sex characteristics of another gender. If they had like all of that for like 6 months, do you think that would be enough criteria in order for us to screen out the children who, like yourself, don't have any of these things? So a doctor could easily look at you when your parents brought you in as like, oh, I want, like, if I were to believe your tale, your parents bring you in, they're like, oh, I want my child to do this. The doctor would say, okay, tell me about yourself, George. And you go, well, I'm a boy. I like being a boy, blah, blah. The doctor would say, okay, he doesn't even meet the first criteria.
Well, in my opinion, like it wouldn't need 6 months. And it also wouldn't need like any like written care. It would just need like careful screening, like talking to them on an individual level that will develop.
You even think the 6 months is like too extreme? Like that's too long. Like we don't even need that.
That'd be too long. Yes. What I'm saying in general is, first, talk to the kid, make sure the kid's okay with this. Second off, I would say obviously like when it comes to this is a little bit off topic, but it is on the same topic at the same time. Would be I don't agree with giving any kind of like puberty blockers or anything like that.
Okay, we'll get to there. We'll get to there.
16.
We'll get to there. We'll get to there.
Okay.
So I do have something I want to tell you. There is such a book. It's called the DSM-5. It's the diagnostic strategic manual for diagnosing mental disorders. Gender dysphoria is in the DSM-5. And what I listed to you, including the 6 months, is the current treatment process or the current diagnostic process for somebody under the age of 18 to get diagnosed with gender dysphoria, a diagnosis they need in order to access medical affirming care if they're going through like insurance and stuff. I do think it's interesting that you said 6 months is too long. I actually think it was kind of fucking based. Not going to hold you. Gang. That's kind of based. Now, so we have the thing that you asked, that you want and that you asked for, which is the screening method and criteria, we have that all set up already. So you don't have to worry about that. So let's get into, you think, like you said, you think that we should not give them like HRT and puberty blockers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Well, my bad. Sorry about that. Puberty blockers can block the natural growth of a child and cause problems down the line with growth plates and stuff like that. That could cause the child both severe pain physically, and later on, if they were to regret the decision, there's no going back. That's why I said 16. At 16, most people have their mind made up what they want to be.
All right, so
let's made up what they want to be, but like gender wise, they would know.
Yeah. Let's tackle both of those things. We'll go backwards to forwards. You said that it affects growth, and you said that they might regret it later. Do you know what the regret rate is for individuals that have been on puberty blockers?
I do not.
No problem. So when it comes to gender affirming medical care, this would include puberty blockers. This would include HRT. This would include gender surgeries. The regret rate is on the high end, if I'm giving a conservative number, 3%.
Okay.
That is one of the lowest medical regret rates of any treatment ever. Hip surgery has a higher regret rate. Knee surgery has a higher regret rate than gender affirming care. Next, let's look at what you said. You said there's an issue with growth. Do you know the length of time kids who are trans tend to be on pubertal suppressants?
If I remember correctly, I could be wrong. I did study on this before. It's between the amount of 1 to 6 months, if I remember correctly.
So it's longer. It's usually, I mean, it can be short like that if need be, but usually it's 12 to 24 months. Now, 12 to 24 months is a very short time to be on pubertal suppressants. We typically aren't going to see any of these long-term issues with pubertal suppressants in 12 to 24 month periods. There can be side effects like there are for anything, right? Those side effects typically are negligible because they can be, because if you're going to your regular doctor visits, your doctor can make sure that those side effects don't exacerbate, and that some of them, like we can look at like there's side effects with bone growth. Those can be mitigated with vitamins, things like that. Kids who have precocious puberty, so that would be early onset puberty, also take pubertal suppressants, and they oftentimes can be on them much longer than kids who are trans. And again, we see mitigating side effects. We don't see many long term. Not saying it's not something that can happen. I'm just saying it is not the widespread epidemic that people believe it is. So in forms of puberty blockers, they're actually a fairly safe treatment option.
Okay, I will say when it comes to the first topic you mentioned, the regret rate. It might not have a high regret rate. I just don't agree with anyone that's not even old enough to drive. They don't make a serious medical decision on their own.
Sure, they're not. They're not making any decisions on their own because the only way you can get medical care in this country, if you're under the age of 18, is with parental consent. So they aren't making decisions on their own. Those decisions are being made by their doctors, by their parents, by their therapists. Some have endocrinologists, some have counselors. Like this is a team of people who are standing behind the child, who are helping make these decisions. The child can't just walk into a doctor's office and say, "Load me up with the drugs." That's just not the case in this country.
Oh yeah, no, I completely understand that. When I say like make that decision, I don't mean like obviously not walking to a hospital immediately making a decision and it happening on the spot. I mean, I feel like that's something that should wait until at least the age of 16, due to people mentally grow between the ages of 12 to 16 significantly, including developing several parts of the brain. And people between the ages of 12 to 16 often do have regrets. A lot of times, especially when it comes to medical cases, it's not documented to protect minors.
So the issue, George, is that the data disagrees with you on this in a few places. Number one, we can just talk about children's ability to understand their gender. We know, like the APA has studied this, that gender in a child's mind tends to solidify around age 7. Between the ages of 2 to 3, a child begins to understand the concept of gendering others. Between 3 to 4, child begins to understand the concept of gendering themselves. And at the age of 7 is when a child's gender tends to solidify, and their sense of self in that way tends to solidify. We also know from the low regret rate and the low desistance rate that children who are trans tend to always be trans. It is very rare that they grow up and are now like, I'm not trans anymore. It's just not a thing that really happens. When it comes to waiting, it can actually be worse. One of the key things about gender dysphoria is that you experience an amount of distress that comes from the physical parts of your body, those sexual traits, not aligning with your gender. And that gets exacerbated at puberty. That gets exacerbated during puberty. During puberty, your body will start to change. So we want to make sure. Yeah, no, it's no problem. I just want to finish this real quick. We want to make sure that that natural puberty that's going to change the body isn't doing so in such a drastic way that we now have people whose gender dysphoria gets so bad, they're at risk for self-harm or suicide.
Yeah, I understand that, but especially, I was looking up while you were talking, and I was looking up some like medical side effects of it. There is so severe on the medical effects that can happen to puberty blockers, including brain swelling. There is just, it affects growth hormone plates, as I was saying. I can provide sources for this as needed as well.
Tylenol can cause a liver failure.
Oh, that's true, but Tylenol isn't a daily part of your life, and that is
for some people it is. Like I said, if I'm going to look at the most severe side effects for any medical treatment, you're going to have any crazy thing. You ever listened to the end of a prescription commercial? All the shit they say? Now, brain swelling, I don't think is a significant side effect of puberty blockers. I don't know how that would even be a significant side effect of puberty blockers. I've never heard of it as I mean, can you tell me where you're getting that from? Like what the source is on that?
Oh yeah, of course. The sources for this, I had 3 sources for this. It'd be Mayo Clinic, it'd be Children's Health Defense, and it would also be Gender GP, which that might be a biased source, so you can count that one out if you want to. Mayo Clinic tends to be a non-biased source, and Mayo Clinic was warning the severe health side effects on it, which is the brain swelling, which could be caused by, obviously, with a puberty blocker. It tends to block the hormones and the pheromones that are given off by your body to naturally grow.
Can you give me the actual page that you're reading this off of?
Oh yeah, just Mayo Clinic. What's the most non-biased?
No. But what is the name of the page you're on?
Excuse me, what did you say?
What is the name of the page you're on?
Mayo Clinic, puberty blockers for transgender and gender diverse youth, positives and side effects.
Let's see. So I'm on the same page, friend. The only thing they mention for swelling is swelling at the site of the shot for GnRH treatment. They don't talk about brain swelling anywhere on this page.
Sorry, I might have been wrong. So let me read through that one again real quick. Sorry, I can read fast. I'm trying to read through this fast while talking. Yeah, that would be the wrong one for that. It would be the Children's Defense page. Sorry about that. It'd be the Children's Health Defense.
Children's Health Defense. So an activist group that's directly an anti-vaccine advocacy group. That's sort of.
Like I said, I don't know the bias of this page before I speak on this.
Yeah, I would say the page is probably super biased.
Okay, but what I will say is, like I said, one of my most major problems that come into this would be the obviously before the age of 16 with the decision making, and the health side effects are there.
Again, nobody denies that there are side effects to this treatment. There's side effects to every treatment. The thing that happens is we look at as a parent and as doctors, do the benefits of this treatment outweigh the side effects and outweigh the negatives? And in my opinion, if I have a child who is a suicide risk, yeah, them being alive 100% outweighs the negatives, and 100% outweighs the possible side effects.
I will agree with that. If there's a heavy suicide risk, then yeah, go ahead with it. But if there's not a heavy suicide risk, then I don't feel like it should happen until the age of 16. Obviously, conserving life is the most important thing that you could do.
But again, you don't have like a solid medical basis for that, because medically this is viewed as safe treatment. Medically, it's viewed as effective treatment for treating gender dysphoria. So when you say like, well, I don't think they should do it, sure, but you don't have a reason why they shouldn't do it. It's just like, I think they shouldn't because I don't like it. It's not because it has negative outcomes at most. Like, again, we know the regret rate is literally 3%. It's not because it has a low success rate, because it does. It has a high. It's not that it's not getting the job done, because it does. So your reason for not thinking they should get it at 16 doesn't really hold water.
Okay, what I'll do is, obviously I don't have enough significant sources right now to make a sound debate on this. I'm guessing you do these debates every so often. I'm guessing multiple times a week.
Here most days.
Okay, is this a repeating topic or no?
This topic is usually always on the board.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll go build a solid case around this. This is the first time I saw your channel, so I figured I'd come in and join it and speak on something I'm not super passionate about, but I do have an opinion on it. So
all right, if that's what you
I'll
want to
do is I'll go build a solid case about this, and I'll come back and give an actually sound debate with evidential backing.
Okay, no problem.
Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, go nuts.
Well, in that case, hey, I thank you for the debate today. It's been informative. I hope people enjoyed it that was watching it as well. And I thank you for your time.
All right, no problem. Do I think he will come back with a well thought out position? No. No, I do not. Hey, we've had some support since the start of the show, so let me go through our support. Paige, thank you for the Venmo, said doing the Lord's work. I try. And Janae, thank you for the Cash App, said keep educating. Thank you guys for the Venmo and Cash App. If you want to support the stream, Venmo and Cash App are a way to support. Tips are always appreciated, never required. I'm still going to be here whether you tip me or not. Just like I was here before you tipped me. Over on YouTube, I don't have my super chat things set up to pull them up, so I'm just going to read them. We have, oh, Jesus. God, I can't wait for this cough to be gone. God Sinner said, if I'm being 100% honest, I'm surprised Mr. Benjamin hasn't. We had to fire ours before they get theirs. And then DYLJCP said, new viewer here, you enunciate and present your points very thoroughly. Well done. Thank you for that. And also thank you for becoming a tier 1 member. Remember to like the live, guys. There's 800 of you in the YouTube and only 283 likes. So if you're listening to this right now, hit that like button. We still got 6 people in the calling queue. We're going to get to everyone. And at the end of the show, we will possibly get to bad. But coming up next is going to be... actually, real quick, before I forget, Emily, thank you for the Venmo for educating the fools. Thanks, Emily. I try what I can. I do what I can, and I can what I do. So thank you. Okay. Coming up to the show, we have Matthew. Matthew wants to talk about the Christian God being evil. Matthew, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
Holy shit, I'm fucking shocked you called me. I'm Matthew, I'm 19 years old, and I'm from North Carolina. He, him, male, yada yada.
All right, Matthew. And Matthew, are you religious?
Yes, I am. I'd consider myself religious.
Okay, are you a Christian?
Yes.
All right, well, Matthew, I believe the Christian God is evil. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
I would disagree. In my personal experience, I have seen many men and seen and heard many testimonies from people who have had their lives changed much for the better for having known Christ, and I have personally had my life better for having known him. So I would say he is a kind and loving God.
Sure.
Now,
I mean,
cards on the table,
I wouldn't take I
sorry,
wouldn't take
pardon?
people. Yeah, no. I was just saying I wouldn't take like whether or not people's lives are good because they believe in Christianity. I would just say, does that make the God good? And I would say no. Like, right, there are people whose lives were better because Adolf Hitler was in charge. That doesn't make Hitler good, you know.
Oh, well, that's a fair enough point, I guess.
Yeah, I would say the
All right.
Christian God is evil because of the
So,
evil things that he has done.
all right,
She
such
has
as
done.
what?
Yeah, so commanding women get raped, commanding women be sent off into sex slavery, genocide,
All right,
multiple
can
genocides.
you give me? Sorry, I'm sorry. I'll let you
No,
continue.
no, go ahead if you want to start with any of those.
Oh no, I was just going to ask you where you're finding that, just so we're on the same page here.
Yeah, Numbers 31. Numbers 31 is the vengeance.
Numbers 31.
Yeah, that's the vengeance the Lord sat upon the Midianites. He told Moses, go take vengeance on the Midianites, kill all of them. Moses sent his people out to do this. They came back with a bunch of women and young boys and young girls. And Moses said, what are you doing? Kill everything that breathes, leave nothing alive unless it's a virgin girl. They kill all the
Can
baby
you point me
boys.
to the verse where you see that?
Yeah, where Moses specifically says kill anything that breathes. Yeah. So that's going to be, where is it? 15, verse 15. Moses says, have you allowed all the women to live? He asked them. They said they were the ones who followed Balaam's advice and enticed the Israelites to be unfaithful to the Lord in the poor incident, so that a plague struck the Lord's people. Now kill all the boys and kill every woman who has slept with a man, but save for yourself every girl who has not slept with a man. They then take all of those girls, which is 16,000 of them, as tribute for the Lord. And the Lord says, okay, I'm sorry, 32,000 of them. There were 32,000 quote unquote girls, some of which probably were women, most of which who were under the age of 15, because we just know that's the average age of a virgin back then. So they then take 32,000 girls. The Lord then says to split up. It says, the Lord says to Moses, you and Eleazar, the priests and the family heads of the community, are to count all the people. Remember, those people are virgin girls, and divide them equally between the soldiers who took part in the battle and the rest of the community. So God says, take all these virgins.
Where are you right now again?
This is in dividing the spoils. This is verse 25.
All right, thank you.
So the Lord says, take all of these virgin girls and give them to the community, give them to the soldiers who fought in hard battles, give them to the priests, just split them up. So Moses then takes 16,000 of those virgin girls for the priests and gives the rest to split amongst the people as sexual slaves. And we know that they were sexual slaves because they were sold off into wifehood and then forced to have sex with typically grown men.
Where do you see the sold off into wifehood again?
Because that's what happened. That's just what happened at the time to female war captives. They were sold off into wifehood.
All right, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
But also, what other reason would you keep just the virgin girls? Right? If not because you wanted to have the virgins. So that's the Lord expressly commanding rape and sex slavery, even though he's not using those words. It's not, the Lord didn't say to Moses, hey, take all these virgin girls and let them go. He didn't say take all these virgin girls and like, don't marry them, don't sleep with them. He said, no, take them and divide them amongst yourself and go nuts. And that's just one of many places where not only is he commanding a genocide because he wants to kill all the Midianites, but he's commanding like sexual immorality as well.
All right. So, you have to keep in mind that the Book of Numbers is written about 800 years before Christ, so we're talking like 2,800 years ago. And
sure.
This kind of stuff is mostly. Sorry.
I said sure, but it's the same God. He still did that stuff.
Well, okay, let me just finish. We're talking 2,800 years ago here, which, back then, this was kind of just a standard practice for what you did with a conquering army. You can look at any empire from before Christ and even after, actually. They did a lot of this stuff, and hell, they did a lot worse too.
Sure, but Moses did it at the direct command of God.
Well, yes, but we're also talking about the God the Father, which is
Still God.
Sorry, give me 1 second there. Sorry. Sorry, what? Sorry, I got lost. What?
Yeah, it's still God, right? My claim is that the Christian God is evil. This is something the Christian God did. This was an evil action.
Well, okay, and then again, I would point to the fact is 2,800 years ago, which stuff was common for literally everybody. I mean, you could find.
But none of this would have happened if God didn't tell Moses to go kill all the Midianites. This only happened because God.
The Midianite Empire was considerably worse than this.
There's actually no evidence of that, right? Like actual historical evidence. Like people, you say this all the time. They're like, well, the Midianites were sacrificing kids and eating kids, and there's no archaeological evidence of that. There's no historical written evidence of that. It's just something the Israelites said so that they could slaughter a group of people. But again, even if it was the case that the Midianites were these horrible, terrible, awful people, God could have said, go kill all the adults who engage in this and save all of the children. But instead, he had them slaughter all the baby boys. Baby boys who did nothing. They weren't impure. They weren't committing the sin.
Well, that was again a practice of the time. I know you're going to say God commanded this, but again, as a practice of the time, you would kill off the adult sons so that they wouldn't rise up against you again.
This is Moses. This is Moses.
So, yes,
though. This is a direct.
I understand that.
Hold on.
This is a.
But Matthew, I get a practice of the time, right? Because it's a practice of the time by people that don't have a direct link to God. This is Moses. Moses is a prophet who speaks to the Lord. God could have said to Moses, hey, the practice of killing babies so that they don't reproduce is wrong. So don't do that here. Instead, just raise the baby Midianites as if they were Israelites. And don't ever tell them they're Midianite babies and they'll be fine. Right? Like, just raise them as your own. But God didn't do that. God commanded their slaughter. So it's not something that's wrong because it was done at the time, right? God is timeless. What is wrong to God in 2026 is wrong to God in 2000 BC, right? God doesn't change his morality.
Well, he does actually. You have the book of what it is, book of Judges and what is it again? Deuteronomy. It will list a whole bunch of these little tiny things, like you're not allowed to wear clothes of two different linens. You're not allowed to plant crops next to each other. And then in the New Testament, he changes all that and says, well, most of that was just for safe practice and whatnot.
So actually, when we look at the New Testament, When we look at the New Testament, Jesus said that not a single jot nor tittle, not one single letter of the old law is to be ignored. He says this. He says, do not think I've come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. So nothing. That means none of the ceremonial laws, he says nothing is abolished. Nothing is changed until all is accomplished. And he hasn't accomplished all yet because heaven and earth are still separate. Jesus won't have accomplished all until heaven and earth are one.
Well, hold on, just give me 1 second.
Now, I agree that we operate
I'm
differently.
Sorry, pardon.
I was just going to say, I believe we operate differently, right? Like we have changed as people because morality is subjective, but God's morality is not subjective. So his morality should never change. But there's tons of stuff that, like, if I were to ask you if you think is wrong, now you would say yes, even though God was very clear about it, that it's morally okay to do.
All right, so I remembered my thought. You were talking about the not one jot, not one anything of it.
I think it's
so
dot. I always say
he
jot
does not,
for some reason.
I'm sorry. Sorry. If he said not any of this, not anything from the old law is not coming to change any of that, then why do we not still do the ceremonial stuff like the Ark of the Covenant, 10 lens? Why is that no longer a problem for him?
Well, it technically is, right? Technically it is, but I think most Christians recognize that the Bible probably isn't direct word of God. So, like, you don't actually have to follow what it says pretty closely. But, like, God is probably not going to be upset that people aren't following the laws that he laid out because he has never once changed them. Now, some will argue that, like, those laws are specifically for the Israelites. I think that's an interesting answer. But if the laws are for the Israelites, then so is heaven. So it doesn't, like, you can't have it both ways, right? So what I think personally, it is jot. Y'all gaslight me in the comments. I'm reading it right now out of the NKJV. It is jot or tittle. Get the fuck out of here, chat. I mean, the reason why we don't follow those laws is we recognize that they're silly, right? Like I think most people instinctively recognize that morality is sort of dictated by a society and not by God, because we disagree with God's moral code all the time. Like, I'm sure you don't think slavery is okay, but God says it's okay to do. He says it in the Bible. But I'm sure you don't walk around going, you know what we should do today, guys? We should own slaves. Because times have changed. It's difficult to, when you write a book and that book says that your God is a timeless being who exists at all times, at all places, and then he tries to give a moral code, and that moral, and we people as like grow with our moral codes, all of a sudden the story of that God starts to get real muddied. I think the Israelites just wanted an excuse to slaughter the Midianites. They wanted an excuse to own slaves. They wanted an excuse to do a whole bunch of stuff. And so they just told them that God said that we can do it.
All right, well, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but I wasn't expecting to be on the phone for like an hour waiting for the call, and my dog's pawing at the door. He needs to go outside, so I'm going to hang up here. Thank you for this. You've given me a lot to think about. I might give you a call back later sometime. Anyways, have a good night, sir.
All right. No problem. Have a good one. I'm going to close the call-in line now. Because I just don't know how much longer I have in me in the tank. But not one jot, not one tittle of the old law shall change. Part of the thing that gets me too is if the old law has changed, why the fuck are you still against gay people fucking? Because that's specifically Old Testament shit. That's Levitical law. Anyway, let's move on to the next person. We will get to everybody that's in the queue. Don't you worry. Don't you worry about a thing. Coming up next is Mike. Mike is calling to talk about gender affirming care for minors. Mike, if you can hear me, please provide me with your age and pronouns.
Yo, what's up? Super excited to talk to you. I'm Mike. I'm 20. Well, I said I'm 19, but I'm 20. And yeah, he, him.
Okay, what year were you born?
2006.
Okay, it tracks. All right, Mike. I believe children should have access to gender affirming care. Do you disagree? And if so, why?
Yeah, I fully disagree because I don't think children can make any decision that can impact their further life. And I just don't think they can make such a permanent decision at any age. I don't think, well, I'm against trans people in general, but I feel like that's a different topic. But yeah, gender affirming care for minors is wrong. And any decision really like that, like tattoos or stuff that they just can't change in the future is wrong.
Okay, Mike, are parents allowed to make medical decisions for their children, even if those medical decisions would lead to long-lasting consequences?
Well, I feel like that's a very broad question because
I feel like it's not broad.
It really
Can a
depends.
parent
I mean,
decide? Can a parent decide to not vaccinate their child for measles, even if that would result in the child dying of measles?
well, yeah, they can do that, but that's a whole different. I feel like that's a different dynamic because it's not guaranteed that they die from measles. That's not like
Just like it's not
it's not a black
guaranteed
and white
that.
issue. You know what I mean?
Just like it's not guaranteed that a child will have any negative outcomes from HRT and pubertal suppressants and gender affirming care.
Yeah, but it is a permanent decision that can't be
So is
reversed.
not getting vaccinated for measles. That is a permanent decision they are making for their children.
Yeah, but you can get vaccinated in the future. That's not like,
It doesn't. Wait. That doesn't make it.
you can,
Yes, and that doesn't make it
mean
not
you
a
can never get
permanent.
vaccinated.
What? That doesn't make it not a permanent decision. They are not being vaccinated at that time, which can lead to them getting measles, which can lead to them either having lifelong consequences from that or dying. What if a kid gets pregnant? If they're like 15 and they get pregnant, can the parents decide to not allow that child to have an abortion?
No.
Yes, actually.
Well, it's not about a question of the law. I mean, it's a question of what I think and what I think is right and wrong. You know what I mean?
No, but
the argument
hold on.
We're currently so weird to me because
wait.
Yeah,
We're currently talking about
what
what is, right? We're currently talking about what is. It is the case that if a child gets pregnant, a parent under the law can decide that child cannot have an abortion. This is a life altering change that this parent is forcing upon this child. Long lasting.
Okay, I don't understand. So what does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with gender
if we
affirming
already give parents the ability to make long lasting, life altering changes for their children, gender affirming care would fit into this vein of long lasting, life altering decisions that they can make for their children. Almost every choice a parent makes for their kids is going to be long lasting and life altering.
Yeah, but it's not that permanent or that invasive. Well, no, you're like pushing me in the wrong direction here. I don't care about the pregnancy stuff or whatever. That doesn't I haven't thought about that. I'm not here to talk to you about that. I just don't see how that really pertains to the question of giving children's as young as, I don't know, 10 or whatever,
because
hormone blockers or
parents
letting them make any
because
permanent decision.
parents
You wouldn't let a 10-year-old get a tattoo, would you?
Yeah, but not because like a tattoo is harmful. I wouldn't let them get a tattoo because the regret rate of tattoos is through the roof, and they're 10. The regret rate on gender affirming care is 3%. It's way lower than tattoo regret rate, like not even close. If the regret rate for gender affirming care was like 80%, then yeah, I'd probably say we should probably wait, because it seems like the people that are going through
Yeah,
this
but
care
what kind
are
of
then
statistic
regretting
is
it.
that? Like, that's such a.
It's an
Are they
accurate
polling
statistic is
every
what it
person
is.
who's trans and asking
That's
them,
not how
yo,
you get,
like,
you don't get rates of things by polling every single person. No. For
well, yeah, but
anything,
I
that's
feel
not
like
how
you
that
have to
works.
look at a poll like that. If you poll every person if they're racist or not every person is going to say they're racist. If
That's not
people
how
who are
statistics work,
trans
Mike.
they're not and regret their surgery even a little bit or regret their transition even a little bit, maybe they're inclined to say no. I don't regret it. It's not
Mike,
like that's you can't
Mike,
know for sure.
Mike, that's not how
Yes.
regret rate works. Like, it's not how any rates work.
So
That's not how
explain to me how it works. Explain
that's
to me
not how
how it works.
statistics work. You can't poll everybody. That's just impossible to do. You have to take a sample
Yeah,
size
well
and
that's
extrapolate out of that sample size. That's for anything. Anything. Like, if you were to tell me, hey, there's this side effect, and like if you go on HRT, you have 20% chance of getting whatever. That would be because they looked at a sample size and extrapolated out of that sample size, not that they looked at every single person that received this treatment.
that's not my argument. My argument is, but give me 1 second. How can like a decision as such as going on hormone blockers and going through this whole transition, people inside may feel differently than they're answering on the poll because it's such a big decision, and you don't want to feel regret in such a big decision, even if you do. It's like you can say whatever you want, but it's not like a confirmed thing where it's like, okay, well, we know they definitely feel like this, and I feel like that's a very doubtful or like a very like
Mike, you're
unvalid
just
statistic to throw out
speculating.
there because
We
who's
can't
gonna
have a
say, wait, I
we
made
can't
this
have an
decision
honest
and
conversation, Mike,
I don't
using
regret it at all.
Mike, we can't have an honest conversation using speculative claims. You don't have proof that these
Well,
people
I feel like
lied.
that statistic
Hold on,
is
Mike,
speculative.
No, it's not. It's not. You don't have proof these people lied. You're speculating that the reason the number is so low is because people lied. That's a speculation. When the number is an extrapolated form of data from studies that take a sample size and look at those rates. You can't prove that the numbers are made up. You can't prove that these people lied about it. You can't prove any of that. You're just arguing from a speculative position, and that gets us nowhere. I can take that with anything. How do I know that there's not like way more trans people in the world? And it's just that anytime anyone's asked if they're trans, they say no because they're ashamed of it. Maybe actually most of the population is trans and just doesn't tell us, right? It's just the same amount of speculation. It's not helpful for anybody.
I just feel like that statistic is speculative because it's such
it's
an
not.
emotional decision.
That's not what
It's
speculative
not like,
means.
do you like carrots or do you like apples more? That's like irrelevant. You can answer.
That's not,
Sorry,
Mike.
you can
I don't
truthfully
know if you,
about that.
Mike. Do you know what I mean
Yeah?
when I say that you're speculating on something?
No, I do. I do understand what you're saying. You're saying I'm inferring certain reasons or I'm pulling certain things out of a statistic that I don't know about. That you just pulled out of your ass. I've never heard about the statistic, but
Well, it doesn't matter if you've not heard
I'm
about
just
it,
trying to
right?
go
Go
off that.
go to do a Google search. You're going to see the numbers are between 1% and 3% on regret rate, right? You speculating that the numbers are that way because of some whatever reason is bunk, because we actually have causal information on this. And the reason why the numbers are so low is because most people who go through this care need the care. 97% of them. And very few of them stop transitioning, because if they really regretted it, they would stop their transition process because the ones that do. But the bulk of people do not
How are you going to stop
detransition.
that, though?
What are you
you
talking
gonna
about?
do?
What do you mean? Pretty easily. If I'm on HRT, you know how I stop? I stop taking the HRT. If I'm on puberty
If you're on
blockers, do you know how I stop?
HRT and
I
you
stop
already
taking the
have
puberty
you've been
blockers.
taking, if you're on any sort of hormone, you've been taking it for such an amount of period of time that you really feel effects of it, and then you start regretting that decision, or you've even gone further and you've told people about your personal life in this, and maybe some certain outside factors push you in that direction.
This is speculative
No, it's
again.
not like a process where you can just backtrack, where it's like you bought a shoe and you bring
Mike,
it back.
this is just
You
speculative again.
You feel the effects of that, and there's definitely repercussions
Mike,
for your actions in
Mike,
that.
this is all speculative. Literally, you have no evidence to back this up. You have quite literally none to back this claim up that you're making.
What? What are you saying?
That you have no evidence to back this claim up that you're making.
You're saying that if you take hormones for a certain amount of time, you can just backtrack that whole thing. And I'm saying that's
you just
wrong.
stop and your body resumes its natural process. Like if you're on testosterone, right? You stop taking testosterone and your body will then again start producing estrogen at a higher level of testosterone and it will change itself again. Yes.
That's just true.
Yes, it is.
After 6 months, maybe.
Yeah,
but not
no,
after 2
this
years
is
of taking
this is
that.
absolutely true. We see this in people who aren't even doing HRT for trans stuff. We see this in just cisgender people who take hormones. That when they stop, this is why you have to take the hormones. Do you think, Mike, why do you think that when someone's prescribed hormones, they have to take them for life? It's because if they stop, it will reverse itself. If it was the case that hormones had a point where it was no longer reversible, then everyone would stop at a certain point. You wouldn't need to keep going. You would hit a point and you'd be like, okay, now I don't have to buy these pills anymore because my body is permanently changed. But you always do.
Yeah, it is permanently changed, but if you go off your hormones, then you're not going to go back to ground zero. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
the only things that are like the only things that are
go back at all.
Hold on. The only things that will not go back. Hold on.
Decision.
Mike, the only things.
Can I talk for like 2 seconds?
No, because I need to correct you on this. The only things that are irreversible is if your voice drops, because that's just the way the body works. Your voice can't go higher on hormones. It can only that's just how the vocal cords work. And if you grow boobs, those won't automatically go back. You might have to get the boobs cut off. That's it. Everything else is irreversible. I mean, that's it.
What do you mean?
I mean, that's it. That's the only irreversible processes.
Yeah, that's super traumatic for sure. And imagine you made that decision when you were 12 and you didn't even go like.
Do you know what's more traumatic? Do you know what's more traumatic? It's more traumatic to force trans kids to go through the puberty that's going to exacerbate their dysphoria. That's way more traumatic. You know how we know it's way more traumatic? Because we have the suicide rates to see that it's more traumatic. We have the rates of self-harm to show that it's more traumatic. Because 97% of people don't regret this decision. We know it is actually the more traumatic thing. And again, you're not basing anything that you're telling me right now on any academic research, on any medical fact. You're basing it on your feelings. And there's just like, there's only so far that can get us in a conversation.
Yeah, because you're not being truthful.
Everything I've said to you, I can back up with medical research. So I don't want to hear I'm not being truthful.
Pivoting into like different medical research on shit I'm not even arguing about. I'm saying
I haven't pivoted.
If you're 12 and you take certain hormones and you make that decision, if you regret it down the line, if you regret it when you're 50, you're still going to regret it. People regret it at some point.
3% of people.
I just don't think a 12-year-old can make
3%.
that decision to take hormones at any point in time. The same
They
as
aren't making the
you
decision by
can't let them
themselves,
make a.
Mike. They're not making the decision by themselves. Their doctors are making their decisions. Their parents are making the decisions. They're not walking into a doctor's office and saying, load me up. They have a team of people looking at their case and determining what is the best method forward based on the level of dysphoria that these people have.
So you're saying, okay, one of the doctors denies me and says, "Oh, I don't think you're ready to be trans." You just go to a different doctor and they'll let you be trans. Like it's not like a thing
That's
of like,
possible, but I can do
oh,
that with any fucking
there's this
medical.
big test and you
Maybe.
have to look. Dude, can I like speak for 2 sentences, bro? Like, come on.
If you make an
There's
assertion,
not
I'm
this
going to
thing
respond to
of
the
like
assertion,
you can
Mike.
just what?
You made an assertion. I'm going to respond to the assertion.
Well, I'm just elaborating on that assertion. I'm saying
You don't
you
need
can
to
always
elaborate on it.
find a way to get trans. Like it's not like there's this big test or I don't know. There's this like lie detector we can say where it's like, okay, maybe this is because of certain other factors. This is because the child is confused or whatever. I don't believe in like being trans in general, but you know, for the sake
Mike,
of
do
the
you know how
argument,
hard it
we'll just
is
say that's
for
the case.
minors to get access to this care? It's incredibly difficult. It's so difficult that the amount of like we'll take the do you know the amount of kids who get diagnosed a year with gender dysphoria, which the diagnosis you need in order to get access to the medical care?
No.
41,000 kids a year. Of that
Okay.
41,000, do you know how many are prescribed puberty blockers?
No.
1,000 of them. It's
Okay.
incredibly
I don't
difficult
see
to
your
get the
point.
diagnosis. Your assertion is that, well, if your doctor won't give it to you, just go to another doctor. No, if that was the case, more of them would be receiving this care, but they're not. You don't, Mike. I hate to be blunt about it, but you don't know what you're talking about. You've not done the research on this. You have an opinion on it, and you haven't let the data inform the opinion. You're trying to now push the data into some weird confirmation of what you think, but that's not how data works. All of the data is against you on this. It disagrees with every assertion that you have made.
Well, yeah, but you were like shitting on me for doing speculations 10 minutes ago. You're speculating the same way. What if their doctors denied them because there weren't enough indicators for that and that was truthful? And then they came to and they were like, well, I actually wasn't trans and I actually didn't want to go through with that. There's so much room for people to be like, okay, well, the kid decided that this isn't okay and the doctor decided that this isn't okay or the parents or whoever. There's so many hangups where they were like, okay, well, you know, that's also
Mike,
speculation to say that all 40,000 of those people who were denied because it's so hard to get that care. You see what I'm saying?
Mike, your claim
Yes.
was that if they just go to a different doctor, they can just get the care approved. If that's the case, where's the numbers? Why don't we see a higher number of them getting the care?
Because maybe they don't want it. You're speculating. You're saying because it's so hard to get that care, more people aren't getting it. But that's the same thing that I said. It's speculation.
Mike,
you don't know that.
Mike,
What is the
there's
statistic
no
for
way
that?
that was your answer.
Maybe 40,000 of those
There's
people
no
just
way
didn't
that
want to
was your
get it.
answer. There's no way. There's no way. There can't. I have to be getting punked at this point. Okay, I'm gonna move on, Mike, because this has very clearly become a troll.
No, Mr. Chud, please talk to me.
Okay, goodbye. I don't have the time or patience or energy to deal with people that are too stupid. And when they get called out on stupid shit, they just try to rage bait, bro. Just gonna move on. Please. It's just dumb, bro. It's just dumb. The 19-year-olds that called it more willingness to learn. It's just the way it goes, dude. It's just the way it goes. Maybe I do need to set the age limit to 21. People have told me set the age limit of the calls to 21. I know the last call where we have everybody else in the queue hung up, so there's one more call to take, and you guys know I've been avoiding it like the plague. Because it's just gonna be the most incoherent babbling. Emrys, thank you for the $20 Venmo. Said, thank you for doing this as a trans person. I deeply appreciate your allyship. Thank you. Here we go. We have Bad calling in again to drunkenly ramble, I guess. Bad, what are your pronouns?
You know I don't have pronouns, brother. We got to meet in the middle, man. Or else are
Okay,
you going to debate?
bad. If you don't want to have pronouns, that's fine, right? I'm going to buzz you every time you say a pronoun, okay? I need you to understand this is what's going to happen. Every time you use a pronoun, Bad, you're going to hear a buzzing sound, okay? Do you understand? He hung up. Amazing. Incredible. Couldn't even get that far before he hung up. Homie waited in the call queue for so long just to hang up. No fucking shot, bro. Anyway, that was all the calls. I'll be live again tomorrow. What time is tomorrow's stream? Does a mod want to remind me? What time am I here tomorrow? Everybody needs a friend. 11 a.m. And then I'll be live tomorrow night at 9:30. I'm with Ari tomorrow. Who am I with tomorrow? Let me look at the calendar. Let me just double check. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow I'm live with Ari, it says. That could change if one of us bails out. But yeah, okay. Guys, it's been real. It's been fun. Bad says I hung up on him like I wasn't like you guys couldn't see me. Anyway, I'm out. It's been fun. Be here tomorrow, 11 a.m. Make sure you have entered the giveaway for the Nintendo Switch, by the way. Make sure you've entered that Nintendo Switch giveaway. If you want to win a Nintendo Switch. Goodbye! I'm going to bed. TTFN. Bye.